Well, this is Baruch Fleischman. I'm here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. And this is Jewish Astrology, a Cosmic Science by Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg. He says it's not a rabbi, so it's Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg. He's an astrologer. But he's produced a tremendous work. And the great thing about this is that this book, I don't know if you can see it, is a hardcover. I was going to send it to somebody, and I looked for it in Amazon, which it's there. It's like $25 for the paperback. The paperback is really hard to work with, but this one here is hardcover, and so everything is going to be a lot easier over here. Let's remember what we were learning the last time about how to get started in understanding charts. Now, this is a chart that I pulled out. Somebody that I knew gave me his coordinates, that is, when he was born and what time he was born. Now, over here we see that this is the circle called the zodiac. And these are the constellations that are up above our head as they're moving along. And so, for example, this is the sign, and this is academic and meaning that something that you could just memorize and learn it, or just work with it and just keep trying to go back and forth to see what the names of these are. These are the 12 houses. The house is the zodiac. This house begins in Libra. So, according to Jewish astrology, we call this person a Libra. Normally, this person's sun is in Capricorn. Is the sign of the sun. This is the sign of Capricorn in the house called Capricorn, or the constellation of Capricorn. What it means is that when this person was born, the constellation on the eastern horizon when he was born, so therefore we have east, west, north, and south we could use those parallels. So when the eastern horizon, when this person was born, it was a Libra. So Libra is an air sign. So where his sun is located is in Capricorn, which is an earth sign. So just to understand that most people, when you read astrology, say, well, what's your sign? They talk about their sun sign. But in astrology, Jewish astrology, we want to understand the nature of a person, his problems and his abilities. We have to be able to understand where he began. Where he began in this case is Libra. Now, according to Rabbi Yaakov, what he's telling us is there's a system that's called squaring the circle. Every 90 degrees is considered a square. So here is the 90 degrees from Libra would bring you to Capricorn. 90 degrees from Capricorn would bring you to Aries. 90 degrees from Aries is Cancer. Now, the important thing to understand about this is a male sign. This is a female sign. This is a male sign. This is a female sign. Now, these are all different things I could throw out. There's so much to be able to see about this. But all of them are not compatible. For example, here you have air and earth. Air and earth don't mix. Air and fire mix. So you have here is air. And on the opposite, complete opposite, it is fire. But they can mix because air and fire go together. Fire needs air. Air needs to be able to support fire. Over here you have Capricorn, which is an earth sign. The opposite of Capricorn is going to be Cancer. This is a sign for Cancer. So let's just take this person the way that Rabbi Yaakov had explained it to us up until this point. He said we're going to go on the basis of counting 10 spheros in a counterclockwise way. And according to astrologers, this is called the forward way. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 10th house is the house of money making. So here's a person's 10th house. The 10th house is Cancer. Exactly what that means. That's where the money in this particular chart would be looking at in the home. But Cancer is the home. Then you count another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you come to the house of the opposite, which is usually the wife in this case. In this case is in Aries. Aries is the fire sign. It's the opposite of Libra, which is an air sign. But those two actually combine very easily. But usually they call the spouse the open enemy, because that's man and woman. Man and woman don't go together easily. Now count another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there you come to the home. So that's the 4th house of the house of the home. So that's a system that Rabbi Yaakov had used in order to be able to try to give us an orientation called squaring the circle. Now what we're going to get into now is some different kinds of ideas, and let's see if we can we can understand what Rabbi Yaakov is saying. So he says, if you look very closely at the nexus between the time axis and the space axis, now, I don't remember what they are, the time and the space, but we're talking about it. Let's see what he says. You can see that there is a 90-degree separation between them. So he says one of them, that's the 90 degrees. Here's each one of the houses is 30 degrees. So let's say, for example, between any of these houses, which we thought the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, and the 10th house. That's what he's having us doing. All of them are 90 degrees. They're called square to each other. So this is Cancer is square to Libra. They really, what's water got to do with air? They don't, just water holds a certain amount of air. Air blows whatever it is. 90 degrees from Libra is going to be Capricorn. 90 degrees from Capricorn is going to be Aries. That's what he did the last time. That's what he squared the circle. So he writes like this. In other words, if you have an ascendant on 0 degrees at Aries, so let's say the ascendant, well, I don't have that chart, and I was loath to bring it out. Actually, let me see if I can show it to you. This is the chart of Adam Rishon, but it's not so simple the way that he shows it. This is a chart of Adam Rishon, where this is the Yud-K, Vav-K, and then these are various different gradations that we will get to later on. But the first house here is going to be Aries. So the first house, that's what it says right here, Aries. His wife, Chava, is going to be in the 7th house, which is going to be Libra. So we have to understand a little bit of this, and we'll get into it more, but we're just working on the Reb Yaakov here as we have it right now. If you have an ascendant on 0 degrees Aries in Adam and Eve's chart, so when Adam and Eve were born, when Adam was born, let's see, we had to bring this up a little bit. So he says they were right at the very beginning. It was at 0 degrees Aries, and she was 0 degrees Libra. And Adam did the 10th house, so therefore it would be 0 degrees Capricorn. So just like we have, would be Capricorn. Actually, this chart, the one that we have here, begins with Libra, which is the chart of Eve, which is the beginning of Eve. If you turned it around, you would have Aries as being the beginning. That's where Adam and Eve were when they started. So if you have an ascendant at 0 degrees in Aries in Adam and Eve's chart, then the 10th house would be 0 degrees Capricorn. And if you added up, the house of Capricorn is 30 degrees. Aquarius is 30 degrees. Aquarius is 30 degrees. So it wants to say the Capricorn. Let's say that this is in this chart. It's Capricorn. Let's say the 10th house. That's the house he's talking about. Over here between this point where it begins and the next point is 30 degrees. The next one is going to be 30 degrees. The next one to be 30 degrees. And that 30, 30, and 30 is 90. That brings you to Libra. So that's a little addition that he does, and it's going to lead us to someplace. So he says Aquarius is 30 degrees and Pisces is 30 degrees. So Capricorn is at 90 degrees to 0 degrees Aries. You could do it the opposite way here, is that this is Libra. 90 degrees from Libra is going to be Capricorn. Same idea. So the difference between the 10th house and the 1st house is a square, 90 degrees. So understand that idea. They're 90 degrees away. And the same thing between the 7th and the 10th. They're also going to be 90 degrees. This is what I was saying as we began. There will be a square. And between them is the 4th and the 7th house. There will be a square too. So we're talking about, now here's a word that we're starting to use now, is the concept of a square. So all of these things, these are dependent on each other. The 1st house, the 10th house, the 7th house, and the 4th house, which you explained before, is that the 1st house needs an income. That's the 10th house. The 10th house, a good income will bring you over to your wife. That's the 7th house. And that 7th house, if she's good, and it's a good combination there, then it'll produce a home in the 4th house. That's what he said before. And if you really look at it, the 1st house is the person. So the child, when he develops, he really needs a square between himself and his parents, which represents the 4th and the 10th house. That's very interesting. Because the 4th house is the mother, because that's the house of the home. And the 10th house is the income, because that's what the father does. Or the mother and the father. And there should be a square to the child. So there always should be a square to the child. So he says, why do they need to be square to the child? in order to make some kind of conflict between them, which is usually good. In other words, squares are not harmonious. So there were other. He's going to get into other aspects of how to look at circles and how to look at the zodiac. A square is a Martian aspect, one of a conflict. It gives a push to the child and causes him to break away from the parents and start on his own life. That's what time I have here for this year. This is Baruch Fleischman of the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we hope to be able to continue on reading this and getting into it more deeply.